This is Andrew Nelson, co-host of the Bearing Light podcast. In this episode, guest host Natalia Duron, reporter of the Georgia Bulletin, speaks with Father Rey Pineda and Father Gerardo Ceballos. Together, the two priests talk about the record number of seminary applications in the Archdiocese this year. The two share their reasons behind this growth and why it signifies hope in the Church.
Hi, Father Rey. Hi, Father Gerardo. How are you?
Hello, Natalia.
Very good, very good.
Thank you for being here and speaking with me today.
Happy to be here.
Could you, to begin, introduce yourselves and tell us a little about the work each of you does in the Archdiocese?
Sure. I'm Father Rey Pineda. I'm the Vocation Director for the Archdiocese, and it is my joy, my full-time job to help build a culture of discernment and vocations and to journey with men and women who are feeling called to priesthood or religious life, with a special emphasis with the men who are feeling called to be diocesan priests here.
Very good. I'm Father Gerardo Ceballos, and I'm the priest secretary to the Archbishop. Also, I am the director of the Office of Divine Worship, and I have also the joy of accompanying and helping Father Rey Pineda in the Vocations Office as Associate Vocations Director, and in helping men to become our priests.
This year, the Archdiocese received a record number of applications to the seminary. Before talking about why, tell us what those numbers are and how you both felt when you saw them.
Sure. I've learned that as vocation director, dealing with numbers is always a tricky thing. But for the sake of showing evidence for what the people's prayers have done, we received 26 applications this year, which is, at least in recent history, I don't have a lot of track record of other years going way back, but has been the record, right? And of those 26, we've accepted about 20 of them. And the reason for that is sometimes guys themselves begin the application process, and then throughout that process, they learn that they have a few more things they want to work on before actually taking the next step, which is healthy. And then in some cases, we might notice that there's still something that's missing, or somebody might not be the right fit for our needs or our diocese. And so you just have to make a decision on there. But 20 is where we're looking to land at the end of this summer. So that's the numbers for now. Yeah, and I think that it's a product of people's prayers, a product of a lot of hard work from my team and from the support of the priests and the bishops. It's building a culture. I think that we're starting to see the fruit that is being born from saying it's not just an event or a movement or a one-off thing. It's a culture that's producing its own fruit of what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, and numbers are great, but I think the hope is even bigger than the numbers, because then something that tells you that something is happening right here, right now, and you have a front seat in all this that is happening, that the Lord is doing, and the Holy Spirit is inspiring in all these young men, and especially not only you as a priest looking at this with great hope, but even our brother priests looking at this with great hope, and even not only the priests but the people and even young men looking at this as, not that this is this something that I can do, but it is something that I may be called to do. Vocation is not about doing things; it's about being in the vocation the Lord is calling us.
So I know you Father Rey mentioned there's a culture that's culminating, but what do you both think is the reason why there are these record numbers?
I think, like in every single thing that happens and brings fruit forward, if we look at the natural order, you don't just throw the seed in the ground and then expect something to happen and to bring forth fruit. The land, the soil has to be prepared for it. And I think previous generations of priests and Catholics in this central and North Georgia have prepared the soil for what is happening right now, what we are being witnesses of. And I think, yes, it has to do with a culture of our Eucharistic culture too in our parishes. It has to do with immigrant families feeling the need for priests in either their own language or understanding their own culture. That is another thing. But above all is the non-stop prayers of the people that are in our pews, because as priests, as Father Rey can get tired every day of trying to make programs better, trying to reach out to guys, but at the end is what the Holy Spirit inspires in the hearts of all these men. And yes, already the previous generation prepared the soil. Maybe we are now also, we are harvesting, but at the same time we are planting. And that is a great thing that is happening. I don't think there is a single thing. It is maybe the combining effect of many things happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's nice to see that all of these young boys in churches are seeing these seminarians and thinking, oh, I can do that one day. It's something it will be very natural to them, which I think is very important. Father Rey,
yes.
You have said that the new formation process has helped a lot. What has changed and why is it bearing such good fruit?
Yeah, this is requires some context, because I don't think many people are really aware of what goes into forming a man to become a priest. And so the way that seminary is set up, it focuses in on different stages, and within those stages, different dimensions that they're looking at in each man. And we've had that system in place for a long time now. In fact, what governs that, or what directs that anyway, is this document called the Program of Priestly Formation, which is based mostly on a pastoral letter by Pope John Paul II that says, it's called Pastores Davo Bovis, which means I will give you shepherds, which is a beautiful letter where he's encouraging those involved with seminary formation and bishops and priests to really build this culture, right? And so we've had 5 iterations of this letter, PPF 1 through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that were by and large about the same. They were nuanced a little bit. There was more emphasis here and there, more direction. PPF 6, where we find ourselves, is kind of an overhaul of the same document. And I say overhaul not because there was the last ones weren't good enough. It's just that we just know more now. We know more about psychology. We know more about like healthy integration. We know more about healing the man. Like a lot of that in the past, it was uncharted territory. We expected a lot of what we call human formation to happen at home. Unfortunately, the breakdown of society means that a lot of people, even if they come from good families, like there's different stressors at home, there's different dynamics at play. So there's some formation that a young man doesn't receive, let alone if they don't come from a nuclear family, if you will, where like they're church going and all these things. We have a lot of guys like that who their family maybe still aren't practicing, but they're feeling called to the priesthood. So the Lord is calling from everywhere, but the church is receiving these men, and they have to be real about what they're receiving, because the church is not just evaluating in terms of like, okay, are you going to be good at this? It's like, no, like how do we get you to where God wants you to be? So the 6th edition of the Program of Priestly Formation changes the language, changes the approach, and what it reveals is that it's much more complete now. Always there's going to be room to grow. There's a lot of room even now that we're sort of trying to figure out how to implement it well and all of that. But over and all, like it just sets the tone for the most growth and the most healing, and for the man to become truly who God is calling him to become, so that he can serve as he is being called to serve. Which again, this was all important and necessary and goals in the past, but we just didn't have as many resources or instruments to be able to hone that down so that we can put forth a really strong candidate who's going to be ready, healthy, and serve well for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's much more than a class. It's about
Absolutely.
how it's their lifestyle. It's everything.
For example, yeah, I mean, it's always been that way, but in the U.S. in particular, and I would say that's the only thing I know, but I would say that in other countries as well, a lot of formation has been aligned with the academic structure. Even the language that we used to use, you're in philosophy, you're in theology, you're in pre-theology. Those were the stages. They were categorized by the academic level, which was fine because you have to learn that stuff. It's important. But now the language is different. So now they're not saying you're in philosophy, even though you're studying philosophy. They're saying, no, you're in propedeutic here. You are in discipleship stage. You are in configuration stage. You are in synthesis stage, which, again, my opinion is that was a missed opportunity, because you have all these beautiful discipleship and configuration, and then you have synthesis, which is a scientific kind of term, which, no offense to the scientific community at all, I like science myself, but it's much more like an integrating phase in my opinion. So now it's not just, okay, you pass this class, you move on to the next one. There's more benchmarks that are needed, right? And it's going to take some time, because it still very much relies on the academic structure. But even just changing the language of it is beginning to change the culture of how we're forming men.
Well, I think the other thing is that just we as a society, especially young adults and young men and women, we see school as something that we're either good at or bad at, and the end goal is to pass and succeed. But with this new language, it seems like you can fail and it's okay. You learn how to keep going.
Yes, and I mean the objective is obviously that you do things well, but the approach, I think it just gives you a better opportunity to succeed. It gives you a different motivation. I've met a lot of guys who maybe in high school their academics were very poor, but then they go to seminary and all of a sudden they're on the dean's list every semester. You're like, what happened? It's not that it's easier. It's not easier. What happens is there's a new motivation, there's grace, there's community. It's a completely different thing, you know? And so even though the academics are important, it's like they notice I'm being formed completely, not just being engaged by whether or not I'm smart enough, right? And that changes your disposition. I mean, you begin to know that you have a lot of gifts, a lot of capabilities, and you can flourish, really. And that should be everywhere. But like, it so happens that the seminary is just kind of created that way, you know. Yeah. Hopefully that's everybody's experience, but it is challenging still.
In the past, many young men walked this journey alone. What difference does it make to be able to discern together with other seminarians?
I think, as I have said before, right, we live in a culture that is very individualistic, and I gave this example of going to the movie theater. You know, why I should go to the movie theater and bother looking at all these people, and if I can see it in my couch on Netflix or any other channel or media, whatever. Well, in the vocation that we are called to, it actually works in the opposite way. When you feel called to the priesthood, you know, it's not that God went to every single one in your family and told them, "Oh, I'm gonna call Rey to the priesthood." Okay, don't panic, everything will be fine. No, the call is inspired in ourselves, and you feel alone. You feel like as if no one is with you. When you put these guys together, they feel not only that they are not alone, they feel even more the working of the Holy Spirit through them. Because it is not an isolated event in the family of North Georgia. It's not an isolated event in a family in Noonan, in a family in Gainesville, in a family of Dalton, in a family of Norcross. It is what God is doing in this diocese, not only in an isolated family or church, it's in the whole territory of the Archdiocese. And when they see that they are not alone, now it's easier for them to work together.
Yeah, because discernment itself is though it's an individual process, it's something that when you see someone else is doing it, it's important, and so you feel seen, you feel supported. Yeah.
I joke about it at the discernment masses because we get a good crowd for them, and the guys enjoy being there once they build relationships and all of that. But when a new guy shows up, I kind of put him on the spot a little. It's like, isn't it nice to realize that you're not the only crazy one who's thinking about this? Is that there's a lot of crazy people, But the reality is just to invite them into the sense of like, you're not alone. You're not alone in all this. As unique as it is, as different as it is, as scary as it can be, like you're not alone. And that changes everything. And the guys enjoy building those friendships and those relationships that are going to they're good relationships, they're good friendships. These are already young men who obviously are longing for something different. All of a sudden they meet another guy who's like, hey, like the life of virtue is worth living. Like, this is cool that you want to do this too. And then even better if we might be called to do something for the church, right? So it does change the dynamic, and it's really nice. I like seeing it.
Yeah. Father Gerardo, you have spoken about creating a culture of vocations. I want to hear more about the seminarians when they spend their summers in parishes and why you think it's important for them to foster that culture and spend time with parishioners.
Well, building a culture, in this case of vocations, it is specifically to form in the mind of the community, in the community at large too, but in the mind of the Christian community, that this is something normal that God does in a community that lives their faith. We were talking about this. You're not the only crazy around. No, I mean, it shouldn't be something surprising for people in their parishes that there are men and women called to religious life and to the priesthood. It should be normal, and that is what the culture of vocation should create. That these things are normal. It is not that. It is not something odd. It should be considered normal in a parish that has built this culture of vocations. We are a mature community that strives to follow the Lord, and fruit of that, or one of the fruits of that, is we are producing vocations. We are producing our own leaders. We are producing our own shepherds, and that is what the presence of the seminarian during the summer assignment is very important in that parish, because when I was a young boy, long time ago, I never knew a seminarian until one of the summers, and back in my parish in my home country, and I was like, oh, that is the first time I thought that priests were not, they were formed. Because I asked my mom, what is a seminary? Oh, somebody that is studying for the priesthood. Oh, so what you are telling me that they don't come in a bag of Doritos?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, these guys, they're young people that says yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
that is precisely what a culture of vocation should create. This is nothing strange. It's absolutely normal for people, for young men and women to come up from the community to say, I want to do this. I want to live my vocation in this very particular way. And if you build a culture of vocations discernment and vocation in the parish, this should be absolutely normal.
Yeah. I think it speaks to the health of and Father used the word mature community. Yeah, like there was times where like it was absolutely necessary in the work of the Spirit to bring priests from elsewhere because there was a need, and the community wasn't at that level where they could produce their own shepherds, right? But we're at that and past that, I believe, and we're seeing that now. What I call the Sons of Atlanta are coming forward, which is kind of a term that is very special because I remember when I was in seminary, there was only a few of us who actually grew up here, and we relied greatly on the help of the missionary priests who came, whether with the religious order or from other countries. They built this, but now it's our responsibility to encourage this to have such deep roots, that has now deep roots, to bear the fruit that God wants it to bear. So it has to be changing the culture. A good indicator of that is that, yeah, when somebody goes to seminary, yes, we're excited for them, right? But like, not to the point where it's scary, where it's like somebody goes like, oh, there's so-and-so's going to seminary. Oh my God, this is so great. Of course it's great. Of course we're grateful to God, and all these things. But like, what if that was just a common occurrence because it's a sign that the community is praying for this, supporting this, giving options to their young people to consider this, and then when they're considering it, to encourage them. How many young people don't feel like they could choose a priesthood because it's considered less, in the eyes of the world. Like, you're not going to make enough money, you're going to suffer, you're going to give up a family. It's like, we need to present it in a different way because it is a different way, And so I think that creating that culture, it relies more than just on the priest. It relies mostly on the families, on the community, right? So I think we're seeing a lot of that at work. And we're seeing the fruit of even just, we're just cracking the door open right now. And I just feel like, I use this term for I feel like there's teeming waters around the boat of the church. It's like, I feel like there's so much life under there that's going to come forward. And I'm very hopeful for it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Father Rey, you've spoken about how each generation of priests has had a different mission. What is the mission of today's priests?
Yeah, so building on, I say we stand on the shoulders of giants, because the priests that have come before us have done a lot of great work of creating a foundation. And now we're at a point where we kind of, the guys who are coming forward right now, they have an opportunity to be formed even better than like some of the formation we received. And we believe, good formation, but we just know so much more. We're able to provide so much more support. And I think the purpose of that is to create a more integrated priest who is ready to serve, in particular with the mission of healing and unifying the church. Because those are the two things that the enemy likes to use to break down strong communities. So that, I think we're seeing it now in our priests and our seminarians. We're seeing kind of this natural move to, like, among themselves to have better relationships, and that's spilling over into the way that our communities are responding to that. And so I just really think that that's a big piece of healing the church, not only from the mistakes of priests in the past, and we know that that's a true and real thing. It's like, instead of causing like fear and like, I don't want to be a priest because because of all that's happened, guys are coming forward like saying like, no, like, I feel like God's calling me to do something about this.
Wow. To
like be part of the healing, to show them how a priest loves and how a priest is a father, right? For all the times that we've failed at that, the reality is the Lord is responding by saying, I'm going to send you fathers, shepherds after your own heart, after my own heart, that are going to take care of you, right? And ultimately is in the imitation of Jesus, the true priest, right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing in terms of what's in front of us. That's always been there, but I think that we're in an opportunity right now where like that can be a very strong focus for this next group of priests coming forward, and I think the church is ready for that.
I also like the idea of young people kind of seeing these young men up there on the altar. They feel like they're someone that they can talk to and connect with, and I think that's very important. Like Father Gerardo, you mentioned social media being a huge aspect now, reaching out to priests and such.
Yes, because, before, even during my time, the connection to the priesthood was your parish priest. There was not much production of any kind to foster vocations in a diocese or even in a parish, other than the voice of the parish priest. But nowadays, people can, in social media, as you are scrolling down, I mean, you can receive all these, all these kinds of reels pop up in your phone, and all of a sudden it's like, one that does, weightlifting. He's Christian. Oh, he puts his faith forward. So what I should be ashamed of showing that I'm called to the priesthood, and I think that changes. It could go both ways too, but I think the most natural way is to, I'm aware of this need in the church, and I think, not that they think they are called. I mean, when we receive the call, I don't think it's a moment that, you receive a light and the angel appear. No, sometimes it's gradual. It's like prayer. You acquire a taste for it, and then sacred things kind of get not only your attention, but you feel comfortable with it. So social media is playing a great deal on all this, because now everybody's reachable. Yeah. What does it mean to the both of you to form
these local vocations in the Archdiocese of Atlanta?
I think here, Father Rey, he is a local. I came already as a seminarian, so this he has become a good combo here, because he sees the perspective from within. I see the perspective from without.
Oh, that's interesting.
Outside the diocese. Mm-hmm. So, as someone that came into the diocese, I didn't grow up here. That I came into the diocese. It is not that there's a different. It could be a different perspective of the same reality, a different way of seeing the same reality, and for me, a good and mature diocese is the one that is able to produce its own vocations. Even though I was a part of the ones that came to the diocese, mm-hmm. and I love it because I came to this precise diocese. My interest as one that came into this diocese is to produce, in mission territories, they call it homegrown vocations, local vocations. And it is not that we are, it is not that the missionary work stops. It is continued, as Father Rey said, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. And that is what building the culture of vocations with Sons of Atlanta is like. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, not that now is their time. No, it has always been their time. Yeah. But this time there is more awareness. And what I love about this is that it's happening. But it is not something that happened all of a sudden, not because of the moon and the stars are aligned in a perfect way. Mm-hmm. It is because there is a man, Father Rey, intentionally looking for this, intentionally promoting this, and the priests are interested in this, and the communities are interested in this. And that is what is happening now. Sons and daughters of Atlanta in the religious life are coming up. It's like looking at the seed that was planted, and now they're producing fruit. And at the same time, you see other areas, same thing. The seed has been planted, and they are producing fruit too.
Yeah.
I think it's a privilege to be a part of this time. In the church, we're such a young diocese, and I feel like where we are, reaching this point of being able to sustain, challenged by the growth. It's continuing to grow a lot faster than we can keep up with, but being able to be a part of, okay, these are the men that know these communities, who grew up here, who went to our schools, public and private, the whole thing. There's a lot of opportunity there. And there's always going to be a need for support from outside, always. But I think that it would be a very bad indicator if within the diocese guys weren't stepping forward. So at least we begin to see that now. And I think that the Lord has a special purpose for that, and so we're right at that moment where we're seeing that happen very, very actively. Of the guys that are coming in this year, only one of them is technically not from here, and it's because his parents moved here several years ago, and this is where he landed. So it wasn't even. All the other ones grew up in Atlanta, grew up in these families in our parishes. So it's really exciting to see that. To congratulate the pastors and the communities who have been there supporting these guys along the journey. This is a fruit of their work, their labor, and our openness to God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What gives you both the most hope when you think about the future of the church in Atlanta?
It's going to sound like we don't have any.
I'm in shock. I'm in shock with this great hope. I think what gives me the most hope is that I'm going to die okay. I know there will be a priest to anoint me, and I know there is going to be a priest to celebrate my funeral. Wow. Why? Because I have seen we have a great quality of guys coming forward. And that gives me hope, because there is a prayer in Spanish that says, that is actually part of the prayer of vocations, because he says, according to the quality of the shepherd will be the quality of the flock around him. So if we have a quality in the priest, that priest will be able to build a great community, not in numbers and not in multiple tasks or getting busy doing all these things. No, a community that is indeed a Christian community, strong, great faith, yes, devotions, but also works of evangelization. So if the priest is well formed and gives his all, the community will be exactly the same, will follow after. And that is probably the greatest hope, that the quality of the priest will determine the quality of the communities too.
For me, it's just the working with these guys who, some of them will be ordained soon, some of them will be ordained in several years, past my time as vocation director even. It gives me a lot of hope when I see their humility, their docility, their gifts. Like these are very, very gifted young men who I just can't wait to see what the Lord does with these different qualities. And it gives me a lot of hope because, and I know that I'm privileged in that. And just to share a little bit of a story there, I was with a priest recently who is retired, has been retired for a few years now, and he came up to me and asked me, like, "Oh, how many seminarians do we have now?" And I said, "Well, we'll have 70 this year." And he says, usually when I say that, when people ask, they get really excited about it. And I was really shocked by his response, because his response was, okay, maybe about 20 of them will be ordained. Wow. And I was like really sad about that. And it was a real temptation to take that personally, because it can mean many things. But then, like, my heart was broken, because I just thought, he doesn't know. He doesn't get to see the joy of these guys. He doesn't get to see the excitement of these guys. He doesn't get to see their openness and their willingness to be formed. Maybe what he saw was different. Maybe what he saw caused him to not have this, like, great excitement. And that's such a shame, because that shouldn't be anybody, especially not a priest's kind of impression, right? Instead, we should give thanks to God for what He is giving us, and ultimately it's His work. He is the one who is calling, and He knows who He is calling. So I think He has something really beautiful prepared. So anyhow, maybe just to kind of reference it, maybe in the past it's been discouraging because a lot of guys go to seminary and maybe don't make it all the way. Okay, that's fair. That's going to happen, because if you're not called to be a priest, you shouldn't be a priest. But I'm just seeing in these guys a different quality that is really beautiful, and I just can't wait for the rest of the church to see it as well. So that gives me great hope. Yeah.
I think it'll be great, and I think we're all excited to see how they carry out their vocations. To close, how can our community pray for and support seminarians and future vocations?
Just continue doing this great work with great faith and great trust in God. I really do see the measure at which, like, we are having success really comes from the prayers of the people and their trust in the Lord to provide the men and women that He wants to serve and to lead, and to be a part of their church, of leading the church. Love your priests, pray for them. Forgive them for their mistakes, but also, like, encourage them, build them up. Priesthood can be very difficult sometimes, and the bride needs to encourage the groom, mm-hmm. And the same way, the groom needs to love and encourage and build up the bride. So the people of God are our bride. We stand in the person of Jesus Christ. So continue to be there for each other, and the church is going to be healthy and beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
Did you want to add or no?
No, just the same thing that we have been saying all the time, right? Just pray, but also work for vocations. Pray and work for vocations. And the best advertisement of vocations that can be out there is a joyful priest. Yeah. It is not, and Father Rey said at one of the ordinations, it's not our agendas, it is not our busy schedule that attracts young men to the priesthood. It's a joy with the joy that the priest does all these things. It is not the sadness is the joy, and encourage people to, ask your priest, Father, what do you want me to pray for today? What is there something that I can help you with? Because sometimes we too think we are alone, and that this is our work. And just as somebody saying, "Oh no, you are not alone, Father. I'm praying for the same thing." That gives you a little up of the day.
Yeah. Thank you both so much for being here. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you, Natalia, for all the good work you do.
Thank you all, and please work and pray for Vocations. I can't wait for the day we have 250.
Thank you both.
All right, God bless.
Thanks for listening to Bearing Light. Find new episodes on the first and third Mondays, wherever you like to listen. Read the latest Catholic news at georgiabulletin.org.